Uh, Mercy, as you start, you should know that I'm a poultry farmer in the city. I have one jogo. Yes, the other jogo amekuwa kusalimia. One jogo, two chicken, and four chicks. And two of those chickens are already on maternity. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from you so I can get that proverbial golden egg. Thank you very much. Karibu Mercy.
But Odhiambo, you already had over 20 at some point. If it were
Yes.
not for
What
calamity.
I made a mistake of allowing a friend to lend me one jogo, which came and killed all the other ones. Instead of making them have more chicken, more eggs and chicks, it came and with the disease, and 20 of them were wiped out in 2 weeks. Karibu sana.
You're killing Mercy.
Sorry, you just disorganized the chicken on maternity leave, right? Good morning. Thank you so much for this great opportunity to be able to share insights with you on urban farming. I don't take it for granted that I've been given this opportunity, and I'm so glad to meet people who are also involved in urban farming. So I will basically take you through why urban farming, how we do it, and what opportunities exist for us in urban farming. I have a presentation. I don't know whether we can be able to share it, or would I be able to?
Yeah, just share. You're able
to. So why are we doing urban farming? My name is Mercy. I think I've been introduced. And why are we discussing about urban farming? We want to discuss about what opportunities exist for us, what works and what does not, and how we can be able to implement that from wherever you are. I like that some of us are saying they have a few chicken here, you have a few things that you're doing that will help you with urban farming. And when it comes to food insecurity in Kenya, FAO says that we have 26% of Kenyans who are food insecure. I've done a little bit of research and I've realized that 97% of the food that you consume in Nairobi is imported from other counties. That means that, and that became very vital during the COVID season, whereby they were trying to limit how much the interaction between the counties. And now when they came down to see that most of the food that we are accessing in Nairobi comes from other places, if another thing were to happen like COVID, how are we going to survive in Nairobi? And if you look at the structures of Nairobi, every other month, there is a new building that is coming up. We are having a complete concrete jungle whereby we do not even have, we are even struggling to get walkways because, I mean, there are many buildings that are coming up, some even without control. And therefore, the question is, who are going to be in these buildings? There are people who are coming in to set up offices. People are coming in from the rural to the urban areas, looking for opportunities in Nairobi and other cities in Kenya. And so the question is, where are these people going to get their food? And is this food going to be fresh? Is this food going to be accessible to all? And that's how we are trying to answer the question of food insecurity. You find that if you're having 26% of Kenyans who are at the brink of starvation, sometimes when you talk about food insecurity, there are different definitions of it. And one of the things that I've found very important is to look at food insecurity in the sense of, is it accessible? Is it affordable? And is it nutritious? That you can be able to walk into a restaurant and order chips and chicken, and you can eat that for the rest of the month, means that you're still food insecure because the food that you're consuming is not nutritious, is not going to sustain you. So whether you live in Nairobi and whether you are in the upper middle class or upper class, we are still going to have the challenge of food insecurity. So we go to what is urban farming. It involves the cultivation of crops and raising of animals within urban areas, in homes and institutions, and even vacant lots that we find a lot in Nairobi. If you have, you find that in many residential places, people have this crave of buying land. They say, let's buy and speculate and not speculate and then buy later. We buy, then we speculate. But during that time, are we looking at the opportunity cost of just letting the land stay idle? What could you do with what you already have? So what we do at Shamba Connect, we utilize space efficiently to produce fresh, nutritious foods. And I'm sure every other urban farmer in this forum and anywhere else is doing the same. That's how you're able to raise chicken with Nairobi, because you have a little space that you can be able to maximize on. I will take you through a little of why I decided to do urban farming. I have been a banker I was a banker for the longest time, and it was a good job. I would not say it was a bad job. It was a good job, but I used to have a challenge where it came to nutrition. I used to have a lot of regularly I would have challenges with anemia, and every other time I would have to be on iron supplements. I would either be feeling dizzy a lot of the times, and I had to be taken to hospital many times, and I would have to be given the iron supplements. And of course, the doctors would leave you telling you, make sure you take a lot of vegetables, like any other doctor would say. There's a doctor in this place. The thing that happened is that as much as they told me to take the vegetables and the fruits, I would do that. I would go to the market, buy the vegetables from the markets, go and cook them. And first of all, they would not be very delicious, but also it would not make a lot of difference in terms of my iron levels. I kept wondering, how come the food in the rural areas tasted better, and in terms of nutrition, if you check a few research papers, if you look at the nutrition content in the food that is produced in the rural areas versus food that is produced or sold in the urban areas, is quite different. And this comes from where the food was grown, how it has been transported into Nairobi, and how it is sold and exposed even to the environment. And therefore, as I did my research, that is one of the things that I came across. And I started wondering, so how can I be able to deal with this issue? One of my friends advised that could I try to grow my own vegetables. Of course, I was living in an apartment, then a small balcony that I could call, that they thought that I could use as a place to grow vegetables. And of course, I was like, how can you do that? Why? There's no space, the time involved, what would I need? And she advised me to start with just a small space, a small scale, something. So I took some bottles, I cut them into two, and grew a few spinach leaves. I had spinach and I had a few onions. And let me tell you, that food was different. First of all, because I was not using chemicals or pesticides, it was completely within my control. So anytime I would serve this, even to my family, they felt like this food was on another level. What I wondered is, how can I make it scale? How can I have more of this? Obviously, what was within my control was just that little space. So I took more bottles, I cut into pieces, and of course, I made more gardens, and that is how we started doing that for ourselves. And soon we had our neighbors coming to us, can you do this for me? Can you do this for me? I started doing that for a few friends here and there. Of course, it's a hobby. I enjoyed, and I still enjoy setting up gardens because I know the value. Once I started doing that, I also got someone who worked with me and tried to see how can we make this into a business venture and not just a hobby. Of course, time was limited. And I had to, at some point, I had to make a decision whether to stay with my 8 to 5 or to grow this wild dream of mine. And 3 years down the line, this is where we are. We have been able to set up organic farms for many people in Kenya. We have more than 1,200 clients currently. And we also have worked with a lot of organizations. We have worked with many NGOs and even other people who have their offices. We have worked with schools, we have worked with hospitals, and we are grateful for the process. So what we are saying here is that you can be able to grow crops, you can be able to raise animals within urban areas, within such short and small spaces. And why are we doing urban farming? For me, it was because I needed to increase my iron levels and to make it sustainable. For all of us, one of the benefits is that it increases access to fresh and nutritious foods in urban areas. I wanted to share a photo of our market area, our markets, and how we access our food. And I can tell you, if I showed you that photo, you may not want to go back to the markets, because our food is exposed to a lot of germs and a lot of risks. I can tell you every time in Nairobi, and I think one of the ways that hospitals are making good money is because of the challenges you're having in terms of the health. When it comes to food production, you find that there's a lot of H. pylori moving around even right now. There's lots of cholera, and you'd find that, and these are diseases that come directly as a result of the food that we consume. Is there a way that we can take charge of our food systems in Nairobi? So therefore, we also reduce reliance on imported and processed foods. I think it would be so important for us to go back to our rural areas, to go back to that food that our parents used to have. If you look at the current challenges that people are having, especially that are related to food, when it comes to diabetes, to cancer, and the other lifestyle diseases, a lot of it comes from our lifestyles, and also which is impacted by how the kind of food that we eat. We are drawn a lot to fast foods, which are highly processed. They have lots of chemicals. They have lots of exposures to things that should not be in our plates. And yet that is what is available. So can we be able to create this food in our own spaces and reduce the reliance on these imported and processed foods? I believe it is possible, and because I've been able to do that, not only for myself, but for many clients. We are also able to create employment opportunities and to promote entrepreneurship. During this 4 years of urban farming as Shamba Connect, we have been able to create employment opportunities for a number of people. I would say 10 people right now. And we are able to promote entrepreneurship because we train every month. We get the opportunities to train people on how they can be able to create opportunities within the spaces that they are in. Of course, we also improve our environment by doing urban farming, by getting involved in urban farming. And of course, we are making our environment be more sustainable. When it comes to global warming, it is one thing to say that it is other people's responsibility. But I come back to us, wherever you are, I believe we are all leaders. My question is, what can you do to mitigate the effects of of global warming? One of the ways that I've found cheap, accessible, possible for anyone is urban farming. This is for your family and for the rest of the community. If you look at this little garden that I've shared here, how big do you think this space would be? Just guesses from the group. Are you able to see, or how big do you think this place is?
Some of us are not gifted in estimating, but it looks like maybe an eighth or something. Could it be?
That's a good guess, but I can tell you it's less than a quarter of an eighth. And yet, this is a school setup, and they are now able to sell these vegetables. We set it up for them last year. They're able to sell these vegetables, and children are brought to the center to learn how they can be able to create a livelihood out of getting green organic vegetables from their own space. It's just a little corner in a school somewhere. So how are we doing the urban farming? We manufacture and install urban gardens using plastic recycled materials. Sometimes the excuse that people have is that, oh, we do not have the implements required to set up an urban farm or a kitchen garden. But I can tell you, if you can be able to recycle the plastics that you have within your space, you have a huge garden already. Some of us have used tires, you have used bottles, we have used these packets of milk. What are we doing with them? You can be able to set up an attractive urban garden wherever you are. So this works mostly for our homeowners, estate managers, and rental apartments. And the beauty of this is that once we set up for you a garden, you are able to actually move around with it. If you're moving from one home to another in the course of time, you can actually move with your little garden, and that makes it, very, very viable. We also conduct training where we train people on how they can be able to set up their own urban gardens, and that is on either rabbit farm, chicken farm, or kitchen garden for you to be able to get vegetables. We are involved also in training people on entrepreneurship, because this whole journey is also a journey of entrepreneurship. We use the skills that we use in the farming to also upskill people on urban farming. We work with chamas, we work with community-based organizations, and we also work with individual farmers. We are also huge on partnerships. We understand that we can be able to go much further and much faster when we work with other organizations. And this involves using organic farmers. We use producers. We also work with experts in the area of agriculture, agronomists and such other experts. So that is how we do that. We install attractive and sustainable gardens in homes and institutions. I think I mentioned that before. We also train women, especially in the urban slums, on urban farming techniques. In the course of our work, we've come across people who really struggle to put food on the table. And this is not the luxury food, just basic food. And so I was sharing with some groups how sad it is when you find that in the evening, when young girls are not able to put food on the table, what do? The only thing they have within their control is their bodies. So you find that they're actually working in the streets to sell their bodies, not for luxury or for something extra, just to be able to put food on the table. And the cost, unfortunately, goes as low as 20 shillings to just put food on the table. I think we have a huge opportunity that you can be able to empower these young women and girls on how they can be able to utilize a few skills and a few things within their control to create food. Don't you agree with me? So we're also engaging in commercial rabbit farming as a source of nutritious protein. How we got into commercial rabbit farming is that when we started installing urban gardens, there was always the question of how do we sustain this organic farming? And we used to buy very expensive pesticides, which are organic. Organic inputs are quite pricey. And we kept trying to see how can we be able to sustain this organic farming without, spending too much. And what we landed on was rabbit farming. The thing about rabbit farming is that they produce very high quality nutritious meat because it is white meat, it has low cholesterol, and you can actually be able to keep them anywhere in Nairobi. I have set up rabbit farms for clients in very interesting places where those neighborhoods would not want to have cows or goats or chicken because of the noise pollution and the smells and the noise. So what we use is rabbit farms as a source of the organic pesticide and organic fertilizer. When it comes to organic pesticides, we use the rabbit byproducts such as rabbit urine and rabbit manure. So that provides a very effective way to control pests, because whenever you have a kitchen garden, pests are bound to be there. So we use rabbit urine as a pesticide as well as a foliar or food for the farm. And also we use rabbit meat as a source of very nutritious protein. You can imagine in a very small space, literally less than 2 meters diameter, you can be able to have both a garden and a place and a small little house for your rabbits. I think that is why rabbit farming is also gaining a lot of popularity, because they're not noisy, they're not smelly, and it is very easy to keep. They do not require a lot of time. So, well, in terms of community involvement, we work with government agencies, NGOs, private businesses, and communities to make sure that the urban farming initiatives are successful. We also work with what opportunities do we have in this area of community involvement? We also have government support through policy frameworks and incentives that can promote urban agriculture. We also have NGOs and businesses that provide funding, technical expertise, and resources. We have been privileged to work with quite a number of NGOs and other private businesses whose CSR mission is to be able to empower people in the urban slums to be able to be more sustainable in terms of food production, in terms of also waste management. So taking charge of our food production, what can you do where you are? You can be able to grow vegetables and herbs in containers or small gardens. If I had more time, I would have wanted to share with you a few projects that we have done, but let me not do that because of also the time. Also, you can be able to rear small animals such as rabbits or chicken for protein. And the benefit of all this is that you are able to access all this within a small space. And also, we work on participating in community gardening projects. And that comes especially with organized estates where they have spaces where people can be able to participate in community gardening. There are many estates that we have worked with that have a space that is called a community garden. And this is because you're finding that our young men, our young women are getting involved in vices such as drugs, negative peer influence. And so for this, especially these particular clients, they're looking to taking charge of not only food production, but also what our children or our young people are getting involved in. This is one of the ways you can be able to take charge of that. So is urban farming sustainable? I have had that question a number of times, and I can tell you it is very sustainable because it is, first of all, scalable. It uses underutilized urban spaces quite efficiently. We have set up urban gardens on the walls. We have set up urban gardens on very little spaces, and that ensures that there is efficient use of space that is available. You do not have to be a landowner for you to have an urban garden. We have different designs for you based on the size of your space, based on your personal style, and also based on your budget, definitely. We are also reducing the carbon footprints by minimizing the food miles. This food miles issue is about how many miles the food has to cover before it lands on your plate. If you see, I'm trying to see what kind of food travels the most distance. Maybe you can share here in Nairobi, what food travels the most distance? We can have any guesses.
Apple.
Apple. Where does it come from?
I think it comes from South Africa.
You can imagine it comes all the way from South Africa. What else? What other food?
Yeah, let's put on the chart.
Oh yeah, you can put on the chart. And you find that we are able to minimize the food miles through having an urban garden. I have had urban gardens where we have a variety of plants, such as from apples to pomegranates, to they have planted even olive in the same space, and it is right here in Nairobi. Are we able to do something within our control? Yes, we are. We are also promoting biodiversity and enhancing our urban ecosystems. As you come through, we normally have training programs. As you come through our training program, we also take you through aspects such as companion planting, whereby you are not only, we are planting like herbs next to vegetables, which enhances pest control and also enables you to access a diverse amount of food. So when you come in through the program, you'll be able to see what you can be able to do. We are also empowering our communities and fostering resilience against food insecurity. So when you find someone saying that we do not have food, and yet they have a container that they're happy to throw out there, we are the people who are responsible for filling our land, our landfills. Like in Dandora, we have our landfills that are getting filled up with old clothes, with plastic containers. What can you do within your control? It doesn't have to be something complex, just something simple that you can work with someone who is an expert in that area to make for you an attractive garden. Of course, for us, because we are in the urban areas, we also want a place where you can be able to enjoy just going there. Many of my clients have found it such a joy after working after working from 8 to 5, then you get home. The joy is just going to your garden, harvesting some strawberries from containers, harvesting some cabbages from small spaces. Initially, many of our clients used to be the middle income people. It's an interesting fact, and not just for me, but also I've seen that in my competitors. Their main customers, or our main customers, used to be the middle income people. But now we are seeing there is a trend towards even the high-end income people. Why? Because over time, if you look at how the economy is going, we need to find creative ways of sustaining our livelihoods. And so urban farming comes as an easy way to do the same. We are finding many of our clients also being in the other spectrum, where they're now looking for food, not just for that special organic food, just food for the sake of food. So this urban farming is sustainable because it is wherever you are at on the spectrum of your livelihood. We all need to have urban farming. It applies to all of us. For some, it would be that's luxurious food, like you want some rosemary, you want some strawberries, you want this. But on the other side, there are people who literally depend on these urban farms for their livelihood. And for us to be able to reduce the amount of chemicals that are landing on our plates, what is within our control is, can you be able to do urban farming as your own solution? Yes, it is possible. And there are many experts in this area in Nairobi. And because I'm representing myself here, I can tell you we are doing a lot in terms of urban farming, giving agronomical support, working with people who are trying to set up urban gardens and small spaces for animals. I would like us to connect. We have many different ways of connecting with us. You can connect with us through Facebook. We are Shamba Connect. You can connect with us through IG, Shamba Connect, and also our numbers are there on the screen. You can feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mercy. I know Diambo Olale did his thing, but he's a good guy. So on to questions, and I want our Tino, Peter, and Antonio will help us go through the questions.
Okay, there was a question from Melvin. That was the first question. What is your take on licensing of each chicken reared in urban areas? Is this likely to extend to urban horticulture and agriculture? Now that brings to my attention that there is some licensing that is required for chicken in urban areas. Maybe you can comment on that.
Thank you for that question. I would not say I'm not an expert in that area, but I know that in some organized estates, they do not allow for livestock rearing because of the noise that they make, because of the noise pollution and the smells that come from there. However, I think if we can be able to make it less, that should provide less pollution, and that is through animals like rabbit farms, that would be more sustainable.
So, in your opinion, there is no such thing as licensing as far as you are concerned, as long as there is no restriction within the estate. The government doesn't impose any licensing.
I think within the estate there are some regulations, and I know there was something that was being circulated around that. I would not want to comment on that because I do not I do not know that very well, so let me not comment on that. But there was such a thing. I remember they were even itemizing, if you have one chicken, it's 50 shillings per year. I think there was such a thing.
Yeah, I think
However,
so.
how far they are on that.
I don't think it's yet. It's already implemented. From Catherine Kiriba.
Yeah.
Morning. I'm interested in having a rabbit farm and kitchen garden. Hope the smell is contained. Her concern is smell from rabbits. Do they have a lot of smell that you need to put some distance, or if you are allergic, then may interfere with you?
That's a very good question. Thank you for that. I would like to invite you to come to a rabbit farm and see whether you can even tell that there are rabbits in that place. In fact, many of my neighbors don't even realize that they are animals. It's when they come in that's when they start thinking, do you actually have animals? So the smell is contained through maintaining a clean place. And one of the things that we do, especially when we are doing the rabbit farming training, is that we show you how to construct cages which are self-cleaning. Because currently we don't have time. We want a quick fix solution, one that will be able to work with your schedule. So when we construct for you a rabbit cage that is self-cleaning, it means then that you will not have the problems of the odors or such.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, from Elizabeth, Dr. Elizabeth Ogaja, my challenge is how to keep my plants watered when I leave the apartment for extended periods. Any ideas?
Yes, we have different designs. I don't know that I'll be able to get that picture right now. I'll just look for it as we're having the conversation. We have customized garden designs. Some of them are using the drip system, whereby the plants get just enough water for the plants as they are growing, and that ensures that you'll not have instances of them drying up because you are not there. If I find the picture, I'll be able to share with you just shortly. Yeah, but we have different designs. For some, they do not want to get involved in the drama of taking care of plants. They're happy to harvest plants. So the designs that we have for them is a garden that has a self-drip system, whereby you just need to put water on the container, and then the water will just go straight to the plants. You'll have minimal work. So even when you travel, the plants will still have water as long as you control the valve. They're like small taps.
Okay, thank you. From Odhiambo, in terms of food security, which crops do you highly recommend for urban farming, and how do you assist one to set up the above?
So when it comes to urban gardens, what I've found works very well are vegetables. Vegetables, because they use minimal time to grow. They take 3 to 4 weeks to grow. For most people like, because we use a lot of vegetables like spinach, sukuma wiki, traditional vegetables like managu and terere, and onions and tomatoes, the plants that we normally use regularly. For me, that is what I've found working. And because, again, if you are to move from your house today to another house, it will not be, like you're not going to excavate to get the tree out or something. Vegetables work very well.
Okay. And now we move to, I also guess vegetables should work. From then, How do you handle watering? That is from Jennifer. How do you handle watering, especially in the hot, dry seasons and dependence on county water, or at least for people who depend on county water? And by the way, Mercy, there are people who are attending this from different parts of the country and different parts of the world, other than the different parts of Kenya. So your information should be able to address whichever scenario. So how do you address water problem generally? How do you
Thank you for
handle
that question.
Mm. Go ahead.
One of the ways that we are watering our plants, one of the ways that we are watering our plants is through drip irrigation. Drip irrigation enables you to be able to access the to water your plants very minimally. For example, initially once we set up your garden for you, you need to water twice a day. And that water, when it comes from up there, it just comes straight from the first level, the second level, the third level. By the time it comes to the lowest level, all the water has been utilized. So that ensures that we are economizing the amount of water that we are using. The other question was, we also use drip irrigation. For us, drip irrigation works because the water comes straight to the plant where it is required, and not the traditional way where we would just pour water. We now understand that we are having challenges with water management, and so we have to also economize, get our food at the most economical way possible.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Now, there is a question from, there are quite a number of questions. I hope we'll address majority of them. There is a question from Evangelist Mwaura. I'm interested in rabbit rearing for commercial purposes. Do you have a platform for the market? Do you have a platform for the market? Do you offer that avenue? In other words, access to the market.
Yes, we have a market. We train you. Yes. We train you when we start, before you get into any venture, be it farming or any other venture, it is important to have the information straight from the source and also to where you can be able to sell your products. At the moment you have, the market is huge. The potential is huge and the market is huge. The challenge actually that we've been having is that we do not have a consistent supply. You find that today you might be able to provide us with maybe 50 rabbits, but because of poor planning or insufficient planning, you're not able to provide us with the same amount tomorrow. So one of the things that we do is we train you on how to have a breeding plan, so that enables you now to be able to serve the client today and also tomorrow. Because most likely you're going to lose the client tomorrow. Today you provide them with such good products, and tomorrow you are not able to provide them with the same. So is the market there? Yes, there is market.
Okay, thanks. From Joyce, from Kaima, you mentioned government incentives for urban farming. Do you have some examples of those incentives you could mention?
I was trying to share with you. Okay. This is a drip. This is a multi-level garden that works mostly with people with small spaces like a balcony. And this garden has a stand. Oh, up there, you may not be able to see. Up there, there's a container that keeps the water. So in here, there are pipes that go to the soil plants, and gets just enough water for itself. There's someone who had asked a question around that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so there was that question about which examples of incentives did you mean, or do you have from the government? You mentioned that there are some incentives for people who practice urban farming. Somebody has asked.
There is something called the carbon footprint. I know it's not yet very well developed, and many people are not much aware of it, but there are some organizations that are working with the government to empower people to to reduce the carbon footprint on Earth, in their spaces, in the environment. And the kind of incentives that they're giving us is, I'm not very conversant. I may not be able to give you the whole information around it, but it's around carbon footprints and how we can be able to reduce it, and they're called carbon credits.
Okay.
Yeah, they start
Okay.
acting as carbon credits. And so if you do some more research around it, people are working on it.
Okay. Thank you. Now, from Maiburu, thanks, Mercy, for this valuable information. You've mentioned that your organization is managing about 1,200 farms. Are you able to quantify the cumulative produce per annum for the food grown, and how it compares to the annual demand for Nairobi? Is the urban farming for subsistence or commercial farming? The other one is, do you help source for the market for the food surplus, which I think you addressed there under a bit? Do you test the farm produce to ensure no chemicals were used in growing the food? There are quite a number of questions there. I hope you got them. One is the cumulative production. Do you have an idea on how much is produced by all these your farmers and how it compares to the need in Nairobi? And then is it commercial or it's just for subsistence? And then do you have a market for the surplus, that is food surplus if there is, and also the chemical issue?
Thank you for that question. What we do for individuals and organizations is that we set up for them the urban farms. For some, they will give us also the maintenance of the same gardens. And for others, they will decide to maintain them yourselves. I hope I'm clear. So you find, for us, what we do is, it depends on the scope of work. For most of our clients, especially individuals and small organizations, they're able to consume all that they produce. Some organizations will produce, like enough food. For some, they're going to have the food for the staff in there. For some organizations, they set up kitchens. I mean, the food is used in their kitchen, in their office kitchen. You get what I mean? And for some of them are able to sell to their neighbors, especially for the individuals, they sell to their neighbors. So I do not even need to get in and start marketing for them. So of course, that is our next step, but we have not yet completely developed on that area.
Did you answer on chemicals testing?
On chemicals, what we do is we work with you and we train you on how you can be able to control and manage your crops and manage your farm organically. As to whether you end up doing the same now is a little bit out of our control, but if we are the ones managing your farm, we normally use organic ways to control the pests and diseases in the farm. So that is where we come in. Depends on the scope of work.
Okay, thank you. Now, again from Dr. Ogaja, the current government is taxing everything. Are there any particular taxes that apply to urban farming?
Now, let me tell you, this is the best part of it. Plans do not have any, taxes on it currently. We do not have any taxes on them currently. And I hope that will be the situation and will be the state later. For many people, they are selling the vegetables right from their gardens to the neighbors. They are earning money that is tax-free. Why are you not doing that?
Ideally, people should declare at the end of the year that I made this money from the farm. Now, from Rose Kirungu, I find rabbit rearing delicate.
Tax evasion.
Yeah, from Rose, another question. I find rabbit rearing delicate. Can have 10 today, the next morning find all dead. How can one mitigate about this? Or maybe you can ask, is there something that needs to be known, some secret, so that you don't wake up and find all of them dead?
And that's why we do training. The training is a little bit detailed. We take you through the process of ensuring that the place the rabbit housing is maintained clean, for most of the reasons that would make rabbits die would just be about hygiene. If you manage your hygiene, you're likely to not, you won't have those deaths. Because I mean, I've gone through that process and I know what it means to wake up in the morning and find 2 rabbits dead today, 3 tomorrow. So we have gone through the thick of it, and we have very trained personnel who take you through that process. We help to mitigate those diseases by ensuring that from how we create the structures to the farm. The funny thing is that sometimes even shock, the shock of sudden noises distracts chicken and also rabbits, so they get heart attacks and die. That happens. But we show you how to ensure that you don't get into that's.
Chicken get heart attack. Well, okay,
yes.
Good.
Oh,
no.
I think the chicken farmers will tell you. You wake up in the morning, you find 2 chickens dead, and you wonder what happened. And there is no sign of any disease or anything. But when they get shocked, they can die.
Okay, yeah, Rose was saying during the hot season, I use borehole water, which tend to dry the plants. Is there a way to reduce the salinity in the water? Or do you experience such? How can that be helped?
So we ensure that your soil stays healthy by using products such as lime and other natural products to keep the pH of the soil the same, so that your plants will also not dry or have lower production because of the borehole water. That happens.
Okay. I think we have too many questions. We may not address them, but let me just pick one more in that line. I had reached. You will put your contact there in the chat because there are people who want to consult you. I saw somebody saying, could you extend your services to Tanzania? Thank you, Dr. Lisa. Can you extend this consult? Yeah, that is the one asking for Tanzania. Is recycled water from kitchen and washing clothes leftover recommended to cut cost?
So what we do, the truth is we have different places with different challenges. Some homes will not have water for 2 days in a week. So how we do this when we are training you is how you can be able to recycle the water that you produce from your kitchen activities to use in the farm. We do not, what we do is we show you how you can be able to do that. We try and minimize the amount of soap that is on the water before you put in the plants. Although also soap helps with the pest control. So yes, can you reuse the water? Yes, we do that. And we do that a lot, especially when we're training people in the urban slums. Because again, when you start telling someone about how much water you're going to use, for them, sometimes it's a challenge. But when we show them how they can use water recycled and use it in the farm, it works for them.
Okay, thank you. I'll leave it there. It's time for us.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much. Sorry. We have so many questions that are going to be answered maybe on the WhatsApp group or after you posting your contacts, people are going to reach out to you individually. But thank you so much for the great presentation. That was awesome. Maybe you can also think about planting lettuce and cucumbers. I have a friend of mine who told me, Noel, she can't plant things like terere, no, mchicha. The name matters. Like the name matters. Lettuce, cucumbers. She is not planting terere and mchicha. The name, it has to have a nice name, an appealing name, letters. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Antonia. I'll call upon Antonia to give us a vote of thanks and then give us what the administration of POM is planning. And so as Antonia unmutes, I hope you guys remember we are going to have a meet and greet. And it is going to be the first Saturday of April. Yes, because we noticed that the last Saturday of March is going to be Easter. Yeah, it's going to be Easter. So it's going to be the first Saturday of April. Meet and greet. Come meet people. Put a face behind the people that you see here. We will be waiting for you. There is food. A meeting without food can just be an email address. It can just be sent as an email, an attachment. We don't want meetings and greetings without food. We can just that can be put in an email. So, Antonia.
Thank you so much, Noel, for this opportunity. Yeah, I would like to thank everyone who has joined us today for Power Monday. This can never be the same without you all. Thank you for creating time, for joining this great session. Indeed, these are sessions for us all. And thank you to our speaker today, Mercy. You have really impacted our lives, and I trust that this is one of the things that you get out and start practicing immediately. You don't even want to wait for any other chance. And we will give you feedback and contact you for more knowledge on this. And thank you everyone who has put in their questions and their input to make this a success. Not forgetting our host, Live Your Dream, who has always done this every other Monday. Thank you so much to the board, Dr. Melvin, and Noel, who is our moderator. There is Odhiambo Lale, and our host, who is Paul Peter. And not forgetting the person who is working tirelessly behind the curtains, Edna Onyach, who is also a part of our hosts. We want to thank everyone for coming in today and participating. And it is not in vain. Let's do this again next Monday.